today's meeting. We're going to start in about 15 minutes, close to 7:30. And while we're here getting acclimated to the virtual meeting, we just want to welcome you, and we're going to try to see if we can do a poll and make sure that you all can chat with us or text us or use the phone line functions that we have before we get started. So I have Larissa Davila, who is our interpreter for today's meeting in Spanish. Larissa, do you want to introduce yourself?
Hola, buenas tardes a todos. Es un placer estar interpretando para ustedes. Mi nombre es Larissa Dávila y cualquier pregunta los podemos resolver por este medio en su idioma.
Thank you. Gracias. So we have a comment function on public input. So if you've joined us through publicinput.com/Tillery, then let us know that you're here by saying hello or telling us your name or what community, your neighborhood association you're representing in the comment section.
Estamos transmitiendo por medio de la plataforma Public Input /Tillery. Nos gustaría que por favor nos den su nombre y algún comentario. Si están participando de parte de alguna asociación de vecindarios, quisiéramos saber su retroalimentación.
And there is a little bit of a delay between the live meeting and what is streaming. And so we'll wait just a few moments to see if we have folks who joined us.
Tenemos una brecha de tiempo entre lo que estamos transmitiendo en vivo y lo que ustedes están recibiendo, así es que es posible que encuentren que tenemos algunos momentos de pausa, pero es solamente para ponernos al corriente en las dos plataformas.
Yeah. Right.
Sharonda, would you please put the screen up? Share your screen.
I can do that.
Thank you, please.
Are you able to see it now, Heather?
Perfect. Thank you.
All right, it's just loading to the live stream. All right. So we have about 10 minutes before our meeting starts. And if anyone needs Spanish interpretation, please let us know. We want to give you a link to go to for simultaneous interpretation.
Buenas tardes, estamos a 10 minutos de comenzar nuestra llamada. Si usted va a requerir interpretación en español, le pedimos que por favor nos deje saber para entrar en la interfase que ayuda con la interpretación en español.
So hello and welcome to today's meeting. We are discussing affordable housing development on Tillery Street. We so appreciate your participation and input. The meeting will start in a few minutes. I am Sharonda Robinson and I am your moderator. Hola a todos y bienvenidos a nuestra reunión del día de hoy, donde estaremos hablando del desarrollo de viviendas asequibles en Tillery Street. La reunión comenzará en unos minutos. Apreciamos mucho su participación y sus comentarios. Mi nombre es Sharonda Robinson y estaré participando como moderadora de este evento. So before we begin, we'd like to learn a little bit more about the people who are joining us this afternoon. And so we would like to take a poll to learn more about the people that are in today's meeting, who are attending today's meeting. And so if you've called in to listen to the meeting, we recommend that you put your phone on speaker and then text to answer the poll question. So can you interpret that for me, Larissa?
Yes, ma'am. En este momento estamos a punto de comenzar con nuestra junta y nos encantaría saber desde dónde nos acompañan. Vamos a poner una encuesta para las personas, para los participantes, y nos gustaría que nos ayuden con su retroalimentación. Si usted nos acompaña por medio de una llamada telefónica, en este momento le pedimos que ponga su teléfono en altavoz para contestar esta encuesta.
So again, if you've called in to listen to the meeting, we recommend that you put the meeting on speakerphone and then text to answer the poll. Are we ready for the poll, Heather? All right. So you should see a poll on your screen if you're watching via Zoom. The poll is found in underneath the video if you're on public input. And if you're calling in, you want to text Tillery to 512-580-8850.
Si nos acompaña por medio de la plataforma Public Input, usted encontrará la encuesta en la parte inferior del video. Si nos está acompañando por medio de Zoom, usted verá la encuesta en su pantalla, y si nos está llamando, le pedimos que por favor mande el texto Tillery al 512-580-8850.
And so now I'm going to read the questions that and the responses if you are on the phone and want to text your responses. So the question, oh, go ahead.
En este momento voy a leer la encuesta y les voy a pedir que envíen su respuesta por medio de un texto en su teléfono.
I am interested in the Tillery Street affordable housing development project because.
Estoy interesado en el proyecto de Tillery por la siguiente razón.
I live nearby.
Vivo cerca.
I own a business or work nearby.
Soy dueño de un negocio o trabajo cerca.
I am interested in living in affordable housing.
Estoy interesado en tener una vivienda asequible.
I work with a development team interested in the project.
Trabajo con un equipo de desarrollo interesado en el proyecto.
Or other.
Alguna otra razón.
So go ahead and text your responses or respond to the poll on the screen or in public input.
En este momento, por favor, mande un texto con su respuesta. Hágalo por medio de la plataforma de Public Input o de Zoom.
Thank you. And we'll take a few minutes to have people who are joining us respond to the poll, and we'll get started close to 7:30.
Nos vamos a tomar unos momentos para recibir la retroalimentación de su parte y vamos a comenzar con esta junta, con esta reunión en unos momentos.
And thank you. It looks like we have comments that are already coming in. So our communication both ways is working. Thank you for that.
Estamos recibiendo en este momento comentarios, así es que confirmamos que nuestra comunicación para ambos lados está funcionando correctamente.
So we want to let you know that we do welcome your questions and comments during the meeting. However, we have people joining us through different methods.
Queremos agradecer por toda su retroalimentación. Independientemente de esto, tenemos comentarios entrando por diferentes plataformas.
So we will answer questions during the Q&A portion of today's meeting.
Estaremos contestando todas sus preguntas en la porción de preguntas y respuestas al final de esta junta del día de hoy.
So if you're joining us through public input, then you can share your comments in the comment box to the right of the screen. Actually, it's below, I'm sorry, below the video screen.
Si nos está acompañando por medio de la plataforma Public Input, encontrará la sección de comentarios en la parte de abajo de su pantalla.
We have two team members who are monitoring the comment box for us.
Tenemos a 2 miembros de nuestro equipo monitoreando la sección de comentarios para nosotros.
And if you'd like to speak to a presenter, one of our speakers this afternoon, then you can call us at 512-580-8850 and enter the project code 7886.
Si usted quisiera hablar con alguno de los panelistas en esta reunión, puede llamar al número de teléfono 512-580-8850 y poner el código 7860.
Okay. If you are joining us through Zoom platform for Spanish interpretation, you can raise your hand to speak, and that is found at the bottom of your screen.
Si usted nos acompaña por medio de la plataforma Zoom y quiere hacer algún comentario o alguna pregunta, puede levantar la mano en el botón que está en la parte inferior de su pantalla.
Or you can leave a comment in the chat box.
O puede dejar un comentario en la sección de comentarios.
Thank you. All right,
Muchas gracias.
Closing our poll in just a few more moments.
Vamos a cerrar nuestra encuesta en unos minutos.
Is there a slide with the phone number for today's meeting?
Yes, there is.
Have I passed it already?
It's a housekeeping slide, so
It's further in. Okay,
further in.
thank you. So that phone number again is 512-580-8850, and the code is 7886.
Si quiere llamar para ofrecer retroalimentación, lo puede hacer por medio del teléfono 512-580-8850 y el código para dejar su mensaje es el 7860.
All right. And I see someone asked about what happened to the survey comments that were made prior to the meeting. We have them. They are stored in the back end of the public input system, and we'll be going over those questions and comments that were raised prior to the meeting tonight.
Tenemos en nuestro archivo todos los comentarios que se hicieron antes de la junta y vamos a revisarlos conforme vayamos avanzando.
Okay. So it looks like everything is working and people are able to provide us with comments. And again, we will make sure that we address comments and questions during the Q&A portion of the meeting. Can we end the poll now?
Hemos recibido toda su retroalimentación y las preguntas y comentarios los vamos a responder al final de la junta. En este momento vamos a cerrar la encuesta.
All right, thank you. We will get started in just a moment. All right. All right, well, welcome everyone to today's meeting. I'm Sharonda Robinson, the Public Involvement Coordinator for this Tillery Street Affordable Housing Development Project. Thank you for joining us, and again, welcome. Larissa, I think now would be a good time for you to attend to the Spanish interpretation session.
I need the, okay, I'm getting the access now.
Yes.
Larissa is now in her Spanish channel.
Okay, thank you. Thank you, Jasmine. So again, I'm Sharonda Robinson. There are several folks, other voices that you will hear, but faces that you will not see during tonight's meeting, but I want to let you know who they are because they're being a great support for today's conversation. Larissa Davila is handling our Spanish interpretation. And thank you for waving, Larissa. And then we have Esteban Garza, who is monitoring the Spanish chat line through the interpretation channel. We also have Heather De La Paz, who is monitoring the comment line through public input, as well as the voice line, and Jasmine Knowles, who is in the back end, turning things on and off as we go through today's meeting. So thank you all for all your great support. We're also joined today by Mandy DeMeo, and I want to make sure that her mic is working. She's the Community Development Administrator, and also Travis Perlman with Austin Housing Finance Corporation. Could you guys please say hello?
Good evening, everybody.
Welcome.
Good evening, everyone.
Thank you. So I'll share more about our speakers in a moment. So as you know, this meeting is being recorded and also will be available online after today's meeting. We would love to be with you in person, but until we can come back together, here's a reminder from Austin Public Health to help slow the spread of coronavirus. So please cover your coughs and sneezes, wash your hands often, do not touch your face, and stay at home when you are not feeling well. If you have other questions about COVID-19, you can visit the city's resource page at austintexas.gov/COVID-19 for more information. So here is the agenda for today's meeting. Before we dive in, I want to go over that with you. So we will cover today's meeting in terms of the purpose for the meeting today. We'll talk about Austin Housing Finance Corporation and the need for affordable housing. We will discuss the Austin Strategic Housing Blueprint and then cover the site description, development objectives, project timeline, and additional ways to provide input. After the presentation, we will open up for comments and questions, either through text, through the comment box, or by raising your hand if you are on Zoom. And then we will cover next steps. We will keep the lines muted during the presentation so that everyone can hear. And I also want to check in just to see if anyone else has joined who may need Spanish interpretation. All right, so if you're joining us by phone, you can call. Yes, I just saw a text, a chat. Someone is asking if they can leave comments via text. So you can text Tillery to 512-580-8850 to share your comments with the team. And we'll have someone monitoring those as well. Please note that there's a slight delay between what I'm actually doing and what you're receiving if you're watching live. And so there'll be a few pauses so that we can make sure that we are getting all the feedback in time. All right, so you can text us. You can also call, as I mentioned earlier, you can call us at 512-580-8850 and enter the project code to join the virtual meeting. You can leave a message, or you can join the meeting and actually speak to one of the presenters. You'll be on hold until Heather unmutes you during the Q&A portion. And then we're also monitoring the chat box on public input. So those are the ways that you can give input, and it looks like it's working because we're getting comments as they're coming in. So thank you for that. So the purpose, excuse me, of today's meeting is to share information about the Affordable Housing Development Project. And also to answer your questions. We want to gather input and feedback from you about the project. One thing that I want to make sure that you are aware of is that if you know someone who does not have access to the internet, this presentation is available at Walgreens. The Walgreens at Airport and Oak Springs. So it's 1114 Airport Boulevard, I believe is the address of that Walgreens. You can go to the customer service desk and they will give you, ask for the packet for the meeting and the Tillery meeting, and they will give you one. So you can share that with folks who may not have access to the internet. Okay. So as I mentioned, the purpose of today's meeting is to share information about Austin Housing Finance Corporation and their plans to bring more affordable housing to Tillery Street, to hear your ideas and questions and suggestions for development. We've already had a lot of interest in this project, and so I want to share with you now what we've heard so far. So, and this is summarized based on the comments that we have received. So we've heard support for preserving the pecan grove and also questions about the city code for heritage trees. We have heard, seen concern about the burden East Austin experiences with low-income housing and homeless shelters. We have seen comments on protecting trees and the habitat for birds. We've also seen support for additional affordable housing. And we had quite a few comments that came in today. So I'm going to scroll through those and make sure I've captured all of those comments. Yes, the concern about the green space and making sure that the trees are protected. Okay. So again, when we get to the Q&A portion of the meeting, we'll have an opportunity to address those comments, questions, and concerns. So now I want to share a little bit about our speakers today. And we'll hear from both of them. So Mandy DeMeo is the Community Development Administrator for the City of Austin. She is responsible for managing housing and community development programs funded through local, state, and federal resources. In addition, Mandy is responsible for developing and fostering strategic relationships in the community to further the mission of the City of Austin's Neighborhood Housing and Community Development Department. She holds a master's degree in public affairs from LBJ School of Public Affairs at the University of Texas at Austin, and she has more than 25 years of experience in the areas of affordable housing and community development. Travis Perlman is a project coordinator in the Neighborhood Housing and Community Development Department at the City of Austin. Travis has been with the city for 5 years and is staff lead on the acquisition and disposition of property for affordable housing. Travis has education and prior experience in forestry and ecology and currently lives with his wife and 2 children in South Austin. In his current role, Travis is focused on building complete communities through the development of affordable housing as envisioned in Imagine Austin. So I want to let our speakers know that I'm going to continue to run the slides today. So let me know if I need to move on to the next one. But I want to thank you for joining us. And Mandy.
Thank you so much, Sharonda. I appreciate it. And thanks to everybody who is attending our first virtual stakeholder engagement meeting. We're excited to be launching this effort. I wanted to start off by talking to folks a little bit about Austin Housing Finance Corporation and who we are. AHFC, Austin Housing Finance Corporation, is a quasi-governmental nonprofit organization that was created by the city of Austin in 1979. AHFC's mission is to increase opportunities for affordable housing, benefiting low and moderate income households in the city of Austin. We do that by financing affordable housing, also owning and developing land for affordable housing. It's important to note that the board of directors of AHFC is actually the mayor and city council. AHFC doesn't have separate staff members. Our staff members are, in fact, staff members for AHFC and for the City of Austin's Neighborhood Housing and Community Development Department. We are located at NHCD at 1000 East 11th Street on the second floor. And so once we stop working remotely, we will be back in our offices and you can find us there. Right now, of course, as a result of coronavirus, we are all working remotely. So let's talk a little bit about affordable housing. The term affordable housing is used throughout our community, but it often means different things to different people. When we talk about affordable housing, when the city of Austin does, and AHFC, we're referring to housing that is income restricted, meaning that it's only available to households who earn a certain percentage of the median family income or less, and it is rent restricted or sale restricted, meaning that it must be leased or sold to eligible households at a price that's affordable to those households. So it's important to note that when we are talking about affordable housing, we are talking about legally restricted housing that is affordable for the long term and meets these two standards. So why we care about affordable housing? Many reasons, and I just want to highlight a few of them. One very important reason is that it provides housing for employees of local neighborhood businesses. Another is that it keeps communities diverse and thriving. It can maintain the area's traditional character, which includes racial and ethnic diversity. One of the things that we are struggling with as a community and as a city is gentrification and displacement of communities, particularly communities of color. And one of our concerns and ways to mitigate that is to increase affordable options for folks, including people of color, maintaining that neighborhood diversity. Another really important thing about affordable housing is that it allows low-income households to spend less on housing because they're paying less in rent or on their mortgage. That way they can spend more on other really essential things and services like food, healthcare, education. Many of you probably already know this, but housing typically makes up the largest portion of a household's budget. So whatever you spend on housing, if you can spend less on housing, you can spend more on other really essential portions of your budget. So finally, I will say that affordable housing can help longstanding residents remain in the neighborhood. And as I mentioned before, with our challenges with gentrification and displacement, this is a high priority for the city of Austin. Why do we need affordable housing? I think this graph demonstrates it starkly, very visually. And this is something for folks who have lived in the city of Austin, you know this intuitively, and that's housing prices, whether it's rent or home prices in terms of purchasing a home, have increased dramatically faster than wages. Our wages are typically fairly flat, and our rent prices and our sales prices for homes have increased dramatically. When we talk about the affordable housing that is needed in the city of Austin, Sharonda, if you can go to the next slide. Oh, and I do want to mention this because this really ties to displacement and our priority around displacement mitigation and all of our efforts in displacement programs. That one thing when you look at the demographics that we know is that people of color, Black, Hispanic, and other non-white races are being disproportionately affected by increased housing costs. They are being forced out at a disproportionate rate from our particularly central East Austin neighborhoods. So in terms of what our community response is to this, in 2017, our city council adopted the very first Austin Strategic Housing Blueprint. In that blueprint, we laid out goals for housing creation and preservation, as well as the creation and preservation of affordable below market housing. You'll notice on this graphic that there's a donut that lays out the amount of housing that's needed over the next 10 years. The numbers total 135,000 units over the next 10 years. The numbers on the right, which are represented by the red, the orange, and the blue portions of the donut, represent the below market housing that's needed over the next 10 years. That totals 60,000 units of housing for people ranging from the lowest income. So those are folks earning between 0 and 30% median family income. Those are often folks who are living on fixed incomes, maybe people who are elderly or have disabilities. That includes between 30 and 50% median family income are a lot of our low wage workers and low wage working families. And then in the blue, the 15,000 units between 60 and 80% median family income also represent low to moderate wage working families. So in total, 60,000 units over the next 10 years. Again, this was adopted by the City Council in spring of 2017, and it's an amendment to our Imagine Austin comprehensive plan. What we did after City Council adopted those goals was we dug a little deeper and looked at needs across the city of Austin. Every City Council district has unique attributes, unique features, needs, and we determined based on demographic data between the 60,000 units that are needed over the next 10 years, how we could best disperse those affordable units throughout the 10 council districts, taking into consideration access to things like public transportation, and access to and proximity to Imagine Austin centers and corridors. So you'll note we've highlighted that District 3, in which the Tillery parcel is located, has an affordable housing goal of nearly 6,300 units. And this property, Tillery, that AHFC owns, we hope to get some units on there to get some of move us toward reaching that affordable housing goal over the next 10 years. So all of the affordable housing that we create through AHFC gets us a little bit closer to reaching each city council district goal.
Thank you, Mandy. This is Travis Perlman again, project coordinator with Austin Housing Finance Corporation. I want to thank everybody who's attending tonight in whatever format you're attending. Thanks for joining us. I look forward to responding to your comments later. I just want to talk to you a little bit about the area in which the project site is located, and then I'll talk a little bit about the specifics of the site itself. So the site that we're talking about tonight is approximately 5.15 acres, located at 1127 Tillery Street in the Go Valley neighborhood of East Austin. It's located between the Go Valley and Goodwin Avenue on Tillery Street. It's 1/2 mile walking distance to bus stops for 5 separate transit routes, including high frequency routes. It's within walking distance to the Go Valley and Oak Springs Elementary Schools and the Oak Springs Elementary Park. It's within walking distance to the Austin Community College, the Willie Mae Kirk Library, and the Tillery Sports Fields. Next slide, please. So like I said, the property, this is a little bit closer up view of it, is approximately 5.15 acres of flat land. It has frontage on Tillery Street, Charles Street, and Henninger Street. Approximately 1.2 acres of the site is an open field, and the remainder of it is heavily treed, including approximately 2.9 acres of which is an existing pecan orchard that was planted by our previous owner. And in that pecan orchard, that includes at least 14 heritage trees and dozens of protected trees. As we move forward to develop this site, at minimum, this may require a zoning change depending on the proposals that we receive, and I'll talk a little bit more about this on the next slides. But at minimum, it will require subdivision. So I want to talk a little bit about AHFC's development objectives for the site. Ultimately, our goal is to partner with a for-profit or nonprofit developer or development team that's identified through a competitive solicitation, a request for proposal, and partner with them to develop the site. Ultimately, when we review proposals that we receive, it'll be against these development objectives that you see on this slide. One being maximizing the number of affordable units on the site, with an emphasis on maximizing the number of deeply affordable units for extremely low income earning families, to maximize the number of affordable multi-bedroom units on the site, and continuum of care units for persons experiencing homelessness. And lastly, to minimize the City of Austin's subsidy per affordable unit. We have a limited amount of funds, some of which are local funds, some of which are federal funds. And we want to ensure, because the need is so great, as Mandy spoke to earlier, the 60,000 unit goal over the next 10 years, that we make our dollars stretch as far as we possibly can. And so I want to talk to a little bit about the community meetings and the development, the project timeline. So we're here in April, here in our first community meeting. The goal of this meeting today is to, one, give you an overview of our plans for the site. And then the second half of this meeting is to engage with you all and respond to comments that we receive. Additionally, there are a variety of different ways, as Sharonda has explained previously, and she'll discuss later in this meeting again, to provide input after this meeting. We're going to take all of that input, review it internally, determine what we may or may not be able to incorporate into our request for proposals, and then come back at that second meeting to discuss what we've incorporated, And then if there's something that we feel like we have not been able to, that we are not able to incorporate into our request for proposal, to kind of explain the reasoning behind why we feel that way. At the end of May, we'll finalize our request for proposal and release it in June. It'll be a 60-day solicitation. Expect responses back by the end of July, beginning of August. And at which point a City of Austin and Austin Housing Finance Corporation panel of staff will review the proposals received, score them, and determine what the winning proposal is. We'll then award that contract to the winning proposer and begin contract negotiations with that developer or development team. We expect contract negotiations to start in September and conclude by at some point in December, and at which time we anticipate to execute a development agreement with the selected developer or development team. After we've executed that development agreement, it'll then ultimately be up to the developer or development team to get the project started. That could include zoning. It will include development review at a minimum, subdivision application, and potentially site plan application, depending on the proposal that gets selected. And then after approval of permits, they'll begin construction, and we expect construction to take approximately 2 years. So ultimately, we expect this project to be developed and ready for occupancy at some point in 2022 or 2023.
Thank you, Travis, and thank you, Mandy. So I want to go over ways to provide input during this meeting and also after today's meeting. So if you're listening or watching the replay, you can still text us to send us comments to 512-580-8850. You can text Tillery to 512-580-8850. You can also call during today's meeting or after today's meeting and leave a message for us. You can call that same number, 512-580-8850, and enter the project code 7886 to leave to talk with us during the live meeting or to leave a message afterwards. And then we also have a survey that should now be live on publicinput.com/Tillery, the site that you're watching the live stream on, and it'll also be on the website, which is tillerydevelopmentatx.com. You can find it either way. And our apologies, I think Miss Eli sent a note about the comments that were on the publicinput.com site earlier. We published the survey a little too early, and so we still have the information that you all shared with us, but now it will go live and we'll continue to collect that information. So we haven't lost any comments or any questions that you all have sent us previous to today's meeting. But you can go to the project website, tillerydevelopmentatx.com, to take the survey, or stay where you are, publicinput.com/Tillery, and take the survey as well. So those are ways to provide input. That survey will be open until May 1st. So please share this information with your friends and neighbors and folks who need to give us their input on the project. So now we have an opportunity to engage with you during the questions, comments, Q&A portion of the meeting. And again, I want to remind you that you can call us by phone, you can send us a text, or you can leave your comments in the chat box, and we will make sure that we go through them one by one. I want to remind my presenters, my speakers tonight, that there is a slight delay between the live meeting and what people are viewing online. And so I want to give folks a few moments to make sure they know to go ahead and start to send us comments. And I'm going to open up the chat box now and go through and see if there's anything that we missed. And then also ask Heather and Esteban if they have anything for us. So now I'm looking, I have my laptop open as well. So forgive me for looking away.
Thank you, Sharonda. It looks like there's not much chatter going on the Zoom chat.
Okay, thank you. Thank you, Esteban. Heather?
We have had some comments and feedback coming in via text. A couple of comments. One is the sports field. Those are not sports fields. The Tillery sports fields, so those are a watershed.
So we're going to go back to, is it the map here? Here? Travis, do you want to take a shot at that one?
Sure. It's my understanding those are actively used sport fields. It is really common for sports fields to be developed in floodplains. I think that's probably what's happening in this case.
Okay. And whomever sent us the text, if there are further questions or concerns related to the sports field, let us know. Okay?
And we'll certainly, this is Mandy, we'll certainly look into that and have further conversations with watershed protection.
Thank you.
And I'll continue with another as a comment. Pecan Grove is a historic site for the neighborhood.
Thank you. Thank you for that comment. We've seen quite a few comments about the Pecan Grove. It is, in my opinion, beautiful. And so we're looking forward to seeing how the project progresses. But thank you for the comment. Heather?
Yes, and I don't have any calls that are in the queue at this time. There are some additional comments that are online.
Okay. So we'll go over there. So someone is asking where the comment section is on public input. So if you scroll underneath Madura, is it underneath or is it next to, it's underneath the video?
Yes, it is underneath the video.
Okay, so scroll down underneath the video and then you'll see a box that says share your thoughts and ideas.
Yep, it's going to ask you for some basic contact information, and then below that you can fill out any comments or questions that you may have, and we'll be able to see those.
Okay, thank you.
Absolutely.
All right. And again, just noting that there is a slight delay between what's happening live and what folks are experiencing on the live stream. So we want to give folks a moment. And while that's happening, I have a few questions. Will people who already live in this neighborhood be given first preference or priority to live in the affordable housing after it's built?
So this is Mandy. I'm happy to take that. The City of Austin Neighborhood Housing and Community Development, we did recently adopt a pilot preference policy program, which is a lot of P's. And that is essentially as a result of conversations with our city council members and recognizing that we do have a big issue and a priority around mitigating displacement and gentrification, particularly in East Austin. We are piloting a program whereby we are prioritizing folks with generational ties to the neighborhood. So folks who are living in areas that are experiencing intense gentrification pressures, we are prioritizing them for AHFC owned properties. So we're piloting that this year, and then we hope to expand that into other properties as well.
Okay, thank you. Checking in with Esteban and Heather again to see if we have any other questions or comments that have come in?
This is Heather. Thank you, Sharonda. We have had some additional comments. One from Rebecca. I would like to see the city consider not developing Pecan Grove for the sake of the whole neighborhood.
Okay. Thank you. Thank you, Rebecca, for your comment.
Sharonda, this is Esteban. It looks like the chat room's quiet in Zoom.
Okay, thank you. I
And-
haven't, go ahead. You have more,
Oh,
Heather?
Yes, I
Okay.
do. So we have from Craig, I am a big supporter of affordable housing. Also, though, I want to ensure that you maintain community access to the important and historic Pecan Grove. And Sharonda, if I may interject, there's been several people that have asked about getting access to the Zoom link. The Zoom link we have specifically for those guests that are in need of Spanish interpretation.
And I'll put it up on the screen here. So you're not right. That's a good point. You're not missing anything if you are on public input. Right now, the Zoom link is for those folks who would need Spanish interpretation while the meeting is happening.
And Sharonda, this is Mandy. I would like to recognize, I think it was Craig's previous comment. I know this will all be memorialized,
Yes.
but there has been a significant amount of community support for both affordable housing and for the preservation of the Pecan Grove. And I do want to assure folks that we are working diligently with the Parks and Recreation Department and looking at how we can maximize multiple community benefits on this single site. So we know there's enormous need for affordable housing throughout the city, and particularly in East Austin, or not particularly, but including East Austin. But we also know that there is a strong community desire for access to green space, and there are enormous community benefits that come from access to green space. So we are certainly looking for what we would hope would be a win-win, and more on that to come. You know, as we work through all of the interdepartmental conversations.
Thank you. Thank you for addressing that comment,
Sharonda?
Mandy. Yes, Heather?
We do have a caller on the line.
Okay. Caller, can you hear us? We want to make sure we can hear you.
Good evening, you're on the line.
Hello, caller, can you hear us? We want to make sure we can hear you. Okay, let's keep trying, Heather, and just jump in when you, can you hear the person on the line, Heather?
No, I do not hear them either.
Okay, so just ping us when you've got them, and we're gonna go. I see a couple of other comments that have come in that I want to address.
Very good, thank you.
Okay, thank you. So this is from James. Why are there vacant AHFC units that have been vacant? I'm sorry, I'm hitting my keyboard. That have been vacant for years. Example given, 1018 Linden.
This is Mandy, and 1018 Linden is, if I am not mistaken, a recently developed property, which will in fact be sold to an income eligible homeowner. It was only recently completed.
Okay, thank you. Can one of you comment on the current zoning on the parcel, and if the city would be open to requesting the developer pursue upzoning in the RFP in exchange for preserving green space? And that's from Jeremy. Do I need to read it again?
Travis, I think,
No,
can you address the zoning?
Yes, I can. So the site is currently zoned SF3, which if you were to subdivide the site under that zoning district, it essentially would allow a duplex on each individual lot. as Mandy mentioned, and as we've seen throughout this process, and have had a variety of different conversations over the years with stakeholders in this neighborhood, including the Go Valley Neighborhood Association. Clearly, you know, the preservation of the pecan orchard has come to the top of the list in terms of community desires for the site. And so our goal, as Mandy said, is to balance that with the development of the site. And so there is a very good possibility that what James just alluded to could ultimately be what happens on the site, that we preserve a large portion of the existing, or the entirety potentially of the existing pecan orchard, and seek a higher density zoning district on the open part of the site that is not heavily treed. That's largely going to depend on the proposals that we get, and the winning proposal that ultimately gets selected. But in terms of preservation of the trees and the green space itself, as Mandy said, we've been having conversations with the City of Austin Parks and Recreation Department for a couple months now, and are working towards finalizing an agreement with them, and expect to come back at the next meeting in May 14th, to present those details to the community. We also anticipate bringing an employee from the Parks and Recreation Department responsible with acquisitions to speak on their plans if we're able to come to an agreement with them.
Okay. Thank you, Travis. There is another comment about the pecan trees are a treasure and so beloved and needed. This is from Angeliska. It would be a great travesty and tragedy for them to be destroyed. Thank you, Angeliska, for your comment. I also have another comment from Candy. Hello, my name is Candace Fox, and I'm one of the co-chairs of the Go Valley Neighborhood Association. I'm happy to see the community engagement in the comments below. She's referring to what's on public input. Thank you to everyone who has already participated and is participating live. Thank you, Candy. We too appreciate everyone who's participating. I think we addressed Craig's comment, or is this a different Craig? I'm a big supporter of affordable housing, although I want to ensure that you maintain community access to the important historic pecan grove. We already addressed that one, correct?
We did. I believe we did. That was the same Craig.
Brigitte or Bridget, I'm not sure. The Tillery Pecan Grove is a significant East Austin landmark. The trees are at least 50 years old and are the last contiguous remnants of the old pecan trees that stretched across the east side. You can still follow the straight line of pecan trees left standing throughout 78702 and 78721. Pecan pickers come every season to the Tillery Grove. This is a site, many barred owls, and this is a site, many barred owls, a red-tailed hawk, whistling ducks, and other species still inhabit. These trees aid in sound and flood mitigation. They are a big part of the area's tree canopy with corresponding clean air and local temperature benefits. Please work to preserve these 2 acres on Tillery Street while constructing affordable housing on it on the L-shaped lot surrounding it. The Tillery Pecan Grove is an asset to the city and to the neighborhood. It's upsetting that the city is getting for-profit bids that will not take the trees, wildlife, and quality of living for current residents under consideration. It's from Brigitte.
Rhonda, we have a caller on the line whenever you're ready.
We can hear them? Okay. I can stop here. The next comment that I need to, as a reminder for, if I forget, is Rebecca. Okay. All right, caller, can you hear us? We'd love to hear your voice.
Madura, do we still have the caller? Or Heather?
Hey everyone, I do still have Jessica on the line. It looks like there's some trouble on our side connecting.
Okay.
So what I'm gonna do is just play Jessica over speakerphone using my phone. So give me just 1 second, okay?
Okay, thank you.
Jessica, you're on speakerphone. Please go ahead.
Okay. So can you hear me now?
Yes, we can.
Okay, hi. So to those neighbors out there who are trying to call in, when you press *3, you don't continue to hear the meeting. Just let's all be patient. I don't think the phone system is really working well, so maybe we can, if you're frustrated, don't worry. I was hoping maybe you could just, I have a few questions, but can you speak briefly to how people can participate best going forward? The website seems to, be kind of glitchy, like you're there and then your comment disappears. And then we've also been told to go to the other Speak Up Austin, and I didn't see the project on Speak Up Austin. So can you tell us the ways that you want to hear from us?
Thank you, Jessica, for your question. And yes, we appreciate you all's patience. We are learning how to do this in a virtual environment. And so we're learning is the short answer.
Right.
So in terms of there's a survey that is now live that you can find here where you are attending the meeting at publicinput.com/Tillery. It will also be available on the Tillery Development ATX.com website. And if you have received an email from us, we will also send the link to you so that you can share that with folks that you know. We do not have a survey on Speak Up Austin. The survey will be live and available for comment through May 1st.
I think one thing that would help is the signs that you put out. They direct people to the phone number, which is helpful. Can you put some signs on Henninger and on Charles Street and the parts of the property that those neighbors, they don't go on Tillery as much? Can we get some more? We found that when we're trying to do outreach in the neighborhood, a lot of signs is the best way to do it. And since we can't have a public meeting, you have some more signs in the neighborhood that kind of alert the neighbors to what's happening and then direct them to Walgreens for those that don't have internet access. Could you put that information on the sign so, people don't have to go digging online to see that?
Yes, we can do that. If you'll give us, today is Tuesday, give us until Monday to get them out at the latest.
Oh, that's wonderful. Thanks.
Okay. Thank you. Thank you for your feedback.
I have a few technical questions. One was about subdividing. This is the first time I've heard. I kind of assumed you guys would decide to subdivide it, but if or when you do subdivide it, does that have to go through the neighborhood association or contact team approval, or can you subdivide it as you'd like?
Travis, can you take that one?
Sure. Yeah, and Jessica, to be fair, I probably want to follow up on this just to make sure that I have everything right. I think as long as we're not requesting any sort of variance from any code regulations, there's no additional input with the community or approval from neighborhood plan contact team that would be needed. Where the neighborhood plan contact team would come into play is if we rezoned the site and we rezoned something that was not compatible with the existing neighborhood plan. And then if we have a site plan that requires some sort of, or if a site plan is filed, whoever ultimately develops the project, if there's some sort of variance. But I think that the key place for the neighborhood association to provide information would be at zoning for this property. If we move forward if the developer or us move forward with rezoning the property, there is I would say a decent possibility that could happen, and again, to try to achieve the balance between housing and the preservation of green space on the site.
Can you speak to a lot of the neighborhood is united around the idea of this compromise of, willing to go up to MS2 on the empty lot next to the pecan grove in exchange for the pecan grove being saved and maintaining a path from Charles Street to Tillery Street that we often use as a cut through. Can you speak to that compromise? How are you guys viewing that? Is that something that's going to go into the RFP? Sure.
So again, as Mandy and I have mentioned, we've been having conversations with the Parks and Recreation Department. Again, we're somewhat in the middle of conversations, but are working towards coming back with a formalized agreement in the next meeting that kind of lays out the specifics of what that would look like. But generally speaking, it would include the dedication of parkland in the amount between 2 and 4 acres of the site. And yes, if AHFC decided to move forward with that, and Parks and Recreation Department decided to partner with us on that, that would absolutely be included in the request for proposal.
And finally, I just wanted to clarify about the sports field, the soccer field being referred to as the sports field. It's considered watershed, and the neighborhood has gone to great lengths to try to get the city to put even trash cans there to help mitigate trash collection, to put a gravel path, applying for grants. We're unable to apply for any grants because watershed always says it needs to be maintained as a drainage pond. And so there's a very old grandfathered basin that allows one man, Ismail is the one-man show that's running and doing all the mowing himself. And so, referring to that, it's just be careful referring to it as a city asset when the city doesn't do anything to maintain that as a useful sports field to the neighborhood. That's all Ismail and all volunteer effort. We can't even get trash cans to help pick up the poop. I mean, it's all just a neighborhood effort.
Okay. Thank you. As any other questions or comments, Jessica?
No, that's it for me. Thanks.
Okay, thank you. Thank you for your patience and bearing with us to get you on the line, and thank you, Madura, for making that happen.
Of course.
Okay. All right. I have a few more comments that I see on my screen, and I want to also check in with Heather and Esteban to see if you all have anything else that's come in. Okay.
Hi, Sharonda. This is Esteban. Thank you. It looks like you're answering all the questions that have come in.
Okay. Thank you. Heather?
Yes, thank you, Sharonda. There are several texts that have come in recently.
Okay.
So we will start with Tillery. Please don't chop down the pecan orchard on Tillery Street. I live in the neighborhood and love those trees so much. Also, please leave access from Charles Street so we can still walk through the property. Topaz, I believe that's their name. Moving to the next. Why not purchase or use other properties?
Okay. Okay, to develop the affordable housing. Okay.
That's all that was in the text.
Okay. Travis, are there other projects that AHFC is either currently working on or going to be working on to develop affordable housing? I know in the presentation you talked about for District 3, 6,300 unit goal.
Sure. So our department, both the City of Austin Neighborhood Housing Department and the Austin Housing Finance Corporation, a separate entity, we administer a variety of programs that create affordable housing throughout the city. One of those programs is the acquisition of land. In 2018, Austin voters approved Proposition A, to approve the issuance of $250 million in general obligation bonds for the development of affordable housing. $100 million of that was designated for the acquisition of land to develop for affordable housing. AHFC has acquired a variety of pieces of land over the years using cobbling together a variety of different funding sources. This Tillery site is one of those sites. We've owned it for a while, so we're very happy to be moving forward with the development of the site. But this year, with the $100 million funds that I've spoken about, we've purchased one property and are moving towards purchasing an additional 1 or 2 other properties at the moment. And those are throughout the city. None of those properties are currently in East Austin. Some of them are Northwest Austin, some of them South Austin. And so we are acquiring properties throughout the city for the development of affordable housing. But currently we do own this site. It is debt-free, it is paid for. And we bought it at a time when property values were much lower. To acquire this site today would be much more expensive. And so we're really in a situation here that for a very minimal amount of money, we're going to achieve a lot of community benefit on this site, both in the development of affordable housing and the preservation of green space.
Thank you. Heather, do you have any other text?
Yes, I do. I have several.
Okay.
So we will start. How many units are you hoping to get out of the development, or is that something that will be outlined in the RFP process?
Sure, happy to take that question. We will have no minimum amount of units. To a large degree, this is ultimately going to depend on the development proposals we receive. In affordable housing, developers can be somewhat specialized. Some people specialize in ownership housing and constructing detached ownership housing. Some people specialize in multifamily housing with support services. Some people specialize in senior housing. And so it's important that the developer or development team that develops the project, that has potentially many millions of dollars invested in the project and on the hook for that money, that they're free to submit the project that they think will be the best project for the site and for the valuation panel to evaluate. Ultimately, the valuation will be selection of a winning proposal will be largely based on how it meets AHFC's development objectives of maximizing affordable units on the site, maximizing the number of deeply affordable units on the site, maximizing multi-bedroom units and a dedicated continuum of care units, and minimizing the City of Austin's subsidy per affordable unit.
Thank you. Heather, can we tag team? Because I've got a couple of folks who have also commented.
Yes, of course. And I believe that there is a caller that Medora is working on having available.
So I think I stopped at Rebecca. Rebecca gave us a comment. I fully agree that affordable housing is important for our city and every city. In agreement with some of the other commenters, it seems that the Pecan Grove is the crown jewel of the Go Valley neighborhood, as these heritage trees are irreplaceable and home to rich wildlife. And we would all experience a great loss and be poorer with the destruction of this beautiful green space that is home to so much wildlife and a place my family enjoys and also looks forward to visiting on a daily basis. It is truly my favorite part of living here. There are hawks, songbirds, wildflowers, countless other wildlife, and of course, the beautiful trees that are completely irreplaceable. After seeing so much of Austin's dwindling green space being developed at a faster rate every year, it would offer some hope for future generations and their access to urban green space if a compromise was made not to destroy Pecan Grove for the sake of a few home sites that can be located in many other places, with equal access to all amenities and infrastructure mentioned. It would be a great loss to the city's residents and a decision that would lower the morale of many people in this neighborhood and beyond, as this is a trend that is a lose-lose for everyone in the end. Thank you, Rebecca, for your comment.
Thank you for that, Sharonda. Yes. And I do want to, since Rebecca, I think, was the person who made the comment and alluded to a lose-lose, we certainly are looking for the win-win. And I do want to assure folks who are out there or participating in some way that we are listening, we are hearing you, and we are certainly looking for that win-win.
Thank you, Mandy. Heather, you have a comment by text, and then we'll go to
Yes.
Madura on the phone.
Thank you. So next text is, why was the home on the property demolished pre-hearing?
Okay. Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
So that is a great question, and it was an oversight on the part of the contractor who we had hired. And we did meet with, I think that was either a year and a half. I'm trying to remember the time frame. We did meet with the neighborhood association right after that to explain the situation, and it was an oversight on the part of the contractor.
Thank you. Okay, Madura, do you have the person on the phone ready for us?
I do. Give me just 1 second.
Okay, thank you. And I didn't introduce Madura earlier. Madura Deshpande is helping us. She's actually with publicinput.com. And so we appreciate the great support you're giving us to make sure we can hear from our residents.
Oh, absolutely. And here we go.
Hello, caller. Welcome. Please share your name with us and your comment or question.
Hello?
Yes, you can go ahead. Sorry.
Can you hear me now?
Yes, absolutely.
Okay, hi. This is actually a question for Mandy. Hi, Mandy. This is me, Francois. My question is, speaking of a win-win situation, can you talk a little bit about how the AHFC, what your view is on the value of open space in the developments that you guys do? Can you just talk about that generally speaking? I'd like to know, we're talking about maximizing affordable housing, and I think we all unanimously agree that that's wanted and can be done, and East Austin has a lot of that. I just wonder, adjacent to that, how is open space valued next to those affordable housing?
Okay, and I am sorry, can somebody?
I can help with that.
Thank you. I heard a little bit of it, but not all of it.
And so, Madura, if I didn't get this, please jump in. But I think the question centered around what AHFC's value is for open space as part of or adjacent to affordable housing development projects.
Yes, that's correct. Did we get that right?
Did you get that, Mandy?
Okay. Well, I'm sorry. I thought you were asking the caller.
Yeah.
So
Okay.
how we value open space?
Yes, adjacent, as part of or adjacent to affordable housing projects.
Absolutely. So our priority around all of our affordable housing developments, whether it's something that we develop as an entity or something we fund, because I should mention that AHFC, we provide funding in the form of gap financing loans to nonprofit and for-profit developers of affordable housing. We prioritize housing that is connected to amenities, community amenities. And those amenities include access to grocery stores, access to quality schools, access to public transportation, and access to green and open space. So it is a priority for us in anything that we develop or anything that we fund. I will also mention that Travis had previously alluded to, one of the callers had asked about other AHFC properties. And we have taken to City Council, we're getting ready to take our second acquisition out of the 2018 bonds. And this acquisition, which is in District 5, it's west of I-35, includes an MOU, a Memorandum of Understanding, with the Parks and Recreation Department. And it is in response to recognizing that the area where we're purchasing the property is in a park deficient area. And so we want to make sure when we are putting affordable housing into a neighborhood, it in fact has access to all of those amenities, including parks and open space. So that property that we will be taking to City Council for approval for acquisition the end of May actually includes a portion of that. It's a partnership with PARD, and a portion of that property will be developed as a neighborhood park.
Okay.
I hope that answered. Again, I heard most of it, but I
think you covered it.
Okay.
Thank you. Thank you so much. Is the caller still on the line?
Yes. Did you have any other questions for us? Ma'am, Ms. Rumbaugh?
Okay.
Maybe not. I'll troubleshoot if I need to, but I don't.
Okay. Thank you so much, Madura. Okay. So Heather, did you have more texts, or Esteban,
Yes.
do you have other comments? Okay, Esteban's good. Okay. Heather, you, and then I'll come back to me because I've got a few on the chat.
Yes, thank you again, Sharonda. So a few comments and then a question. We have also, please make sure there is enough parking so the bike lane doesn't get clogged. We also have regarding sports fields, that's important because of reference to community assets. We like them, but also they get no support from the city. And a question regarding who on this panel lives in our neighborhood?
I live off of MLK in Springdale, so not too far.
Okay. And
I think Travis, when we read his introduction, he lives in South Austin, and Mandy lives in Austin.
I'm in North Austin.
Okay. Thank you. So making sure there's enough parking was one comment, and then
the sports fields.
Sports fields. Okay. All right. Do you have any more?
Yes, I do. Question: what about utilizing unoccupied city property for additional affordable units?
I'm happy to take that. This is Mandy. And we are looking and have been looking for several years across all of our city assets, either vacant land or underutilized property. And we are prioritizing a variety of community benefits, one of which is affordable housing. We currently have a variety of solicitations in different stages related to City of Austin property, and again, prioritizing that for a variety of community benefits, whether it is creative space, affordable housing, a variety of different attributes that we're looking for depending on the parcel.
Thank you. Madura, was the person on the call complete? Did we hear back from them? You're on mute. I'll keep going and you can respond in just a moment. Okay. I have a comment here from, no, I think we answered it. Jeremy, about the upzoning. So that's all I see in terms of my feed. I'm going to refresh and see if there's anything else that pops in. Okay, yes, I see a few more after I've refreshed. It is 8:40 now, and we are scheduled to go until 9 o'clock. So we'll get as many of these responded to or read into the record as we possibly can. So Sophia asks, will you designate the dense pecan grove as open space in the RFP? Please create an RFP that clearly requires the marriage of preservation of a public open space of the pecan grove while providing quality affordable housing. Please consider that while housing for Old East Austinites is becoming unaffordable, another issue is the disappearance of Old East Austin history. So the question here is, will you designate the dense pecan grove as open space in the RFP?
And I think Travis had previously spoken to this issue. As he mentioned, we are in the process. We're deep in discussions with the Parks and Recreation Department, and provided we do come to an agreement, a memorandum of understanding with the Parks and Recreation Department, which will have more information in the coming month prior to the next meeting, that would certainly be memorialized and part of the RFP.
Okay, thank you. So Madura sent me a text saying that the caller had accidentally muted herself. We definitely understand that. Mandy did a great job and she really appreciated the answer to the question. There's a follow-up question. How does the pecan grove in particular measure up? For example, how does AHFC see the open space in terms of importance for the project? Is it very important or not particularly needed? She said that the community is missing an area where people can congregate and asked, does AHFC recognize that this is a needed space? She wants to gauge how AFC sees or accesses that space.
So I have a couple of responses. One, we have heard loud and clear from the community that they care about this as open space, community space. We have heard that loud and clear, and we're happy to continue receiving those comments and that input. We really rely on our partners at Parks and Recreation Department who do a really thorough analysis of areas throughout the city of Austin that are considered park deficient. So just like we have our strategic housing blueprint, they have their own plans that we want to honor and see how we can leverage our resources with their resources and really turn this into a win-win. So we're relying on our friends at Parks and Recreation Department to make a determination that this is in fact an area, a site that they can program to maximize the benefit to the existing community. And again, those conversations are, it's not just that we've had one conversation, we have been in months of conversations. And I think we're headed in a great direction. And I think we'll have some really positive news prior to the next, or at least at the next meeting.
Thank you, Mandy. So I'm going to combine questions from Bobby and from Audrey. So Bobby is asking about what we can do to increase density while saving the entire pecan orchard. And Audrey is asking, what about purchasing available lots on Tillery versus using the grove? So upping density to save the grove, or purchasing other available lots on Tillery to save the grove.
Travis, do you want to tackle the density question? And then I'm not sure if you get, I don't know that I can specifically speak to other lots on Tillery.
I can respond to that one as well.
Okay, great.
So as far as increasing the density on the site to essentially preserve the entirety of the historic pecan grove, that would, well, I mean, so it's zoned SF3 today, and again, that would allow duplexes essentially. There is something called the Affordability Unlocked Density Bonus that allows waivers to certain site development regulations if a developer provides at least 50% of the units as affordable housing. And so even on the SF3, potentially, we could get small multiplexes, somewhere between 4 and 8 units per lot. So as it's currently zoned, that's the best we could achieve, is essentially small 8plexes. If we wanted to go something that's more dense multifamily, say a 2-story or 3-story apartment building, that would require rezoning. And again, ultimately, this is largely going to depend on the proposals that we receive in response to our request for proposal. There could be a situation where all we receive is proposals for the development of multifamily on the housing, or we could receive only proposals for the development of single family on the housing. And ultimately, it's up to proposers to propose what they think is the best use of the site, and for Austin Housing Finance Corporation to respond to those. In regards to purchasing additional lots along Tillery, I know there was a lot for sale there. I think 2 lots over from ours, maybe 6 months ago. I believe it did sell a couple of months ago. I can follow back up on that to make sure. We did look at that at the time, but we didn't feel the need necessarily to pursue that lot, because we think that we can achieve both the affordable housing and preservation of green space and open space community benefits on this site as it exists.
Thank you, Travis. We had a couple of other comments about the pecan grove, so I'm gonna skip over those to go to questions or comments that we haven't heard so far tonight, since we're coming close to the end of our time. So I just want to acknowledge everyone who has made comments about preserving the open space or the pecan grove, and I'm going to turn my attention for the rest of the moderation of the comments and questions to comments that are on different topics. Someone said, thank you for sharing the era, and this is Audrey, in demolishing the historical home that was made by the contractor. Follow-up question, why was there a contractor on the property pre-public hearing and pre-RFP?
And Travis, jump in, because I could have the history wrong. The home was, we had already had conversations with the Historic Preservation Office, and it was deemed to not be historic nor salvageable. We were in the process of going through, we still had to do either public input process or go before the Historic Preservation Commission, but in the meantime, we had an infestation of bees, and as a result of that, we had to get a beekeeper. I think is the appropriate. I think it was a beekeeper to handle the infestation of bees, and at the same time, we had some issues with people experiencing homelessness in the home. And because we had the initial conversation with the Historic Preservation Officer that it was not a salvageable home, we had a contractor lined up for the demolition, and he frankly jumped the gun.
Okay, thank you.
And I hope I have that time frame correct. This might have predated my time, but I'm pretty sure that has the basic outline.
That is generally accurate. The one thing that I would add to that is the bee situation that Mandy's talking about. We have a variety of different contractors that maintain the properties that we own, including yard maintenance, lawn maintenance, people that go out and mow the sites. Essentially, we had a contractor go out there to mow, and he got stung a number of times and had to go to the hospital. And so that, in addition to the site being used by the property being used by homeless individuals, and the safety concerns associated with the bees and people unlawfully occupying the residence that is not up to code, kind of necessitated the reason to demolish it. To Mandy's other point, the contractor did not follow the proper process with demolishing the building, as she said, jumped the gun.
Thank you. So this comment is from Eleanor. Eleanor says, while affordable housing is important for preserving ethnic and cultural diversity, we also need to consider the importance of this particular lot to the special culture and history of this neighborhood. This is a spot that gives all residents in the surrounding area a place of respite an excellent foraging spot, and a habitat for local flora and fauna. I would urge that other lots be considered before this one. Thank you for your comment, Eleanor. Casey is asking who currently owns the land?
So the land is owned by Austin Housing Finance Corporation, AHFC.
Okay.
We've owned the property for probably nearly 2 decades.
Thank you. Heather, I want to check in with you and Esteban to see if you have any other texts or chats.
Thank you, Sharonda. We do still have some additional texts.
Okay. Anything that is not related to the grove, the pecan grove? Any new questions or comments?
Yes.
Okay.
One comment: activate the green space and or create more community infrastructure.
Okay. Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
Hi, Sharonda. This is Esteban. Thank you. It looks like you are answering all the questions that that are coming up.
Thank you, Esteban. Let's see. I'm now going back through the comments. I'm going to refresh quickly. It's 8:50. We have a few minutes left in our meeting time for this evening. I just want to remind folks that you can complete the survey. And that survey will be available and open through May 1st. So please share that information with others. Let's see. Topaz is asking, who could we reach out to at the Parks Department as a neighborhood? Would that help? So is there a contact that the neighborhood can reach out to at the Parks Department?
So I think Travis mentioned that the Parks Department will be, assuming things go as we are assuming they are going to go, a representative from Parks and Recreation will be part of the next meeting.
Okay, thank you. This is a follow-up to the comment about the oversight by the contractor, the response. This is from Angeliska. Please forgive me if I'm mispronouncing your name. She writes, I want to weigh in on the quote unquote oversight by the contractor that caused the magical historical home made of stones to be demolished despite community outcry. This has created a major lack of trust. How can you ensure that the pecan grove is not also destroyed due to another contractor, quote unquote, oversight? We are afraid that this will happen again. Yeah.
I hear that. When it happened, we acknowledged the oversight immediately. And I will say we immediately went and met with the neighborhood association, or at least a group of neighbors. It is a huge concern, and ensuring that we have the trust of the community is paramount to making a successful project. And one of the many reasons why we're committed to creating some sort of partnership with Parks and Recreation Department. As we mentioned previously, any commitment we have with Parks and Recreation Department and MOU would be memorialized and would be part of the RFP.
Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
Jessica is asking, can the survey be open longer than May 1st? I can respond to that one. I don't think so. And the reason for that is because we have to incorporate the comments in time to meet again with you on May 14th. And so rest assured that you can send us an email. If you have someone who's missed the survey period, send us an email. The email is at the bottom of this screen, housingdevelopment@austintexas.gov. We will be combing through every single comment, every single survey, every single text message, all of the ways that we're receiving information to ensure that we capture all of the feedback from you between now and the next meeting. But we really want people to focus on the survey so that we can compile that, that data and that information and feedback comprehensively. Okay, the next meeting is, she asked also, when is the next meeting? It's May 14th, and we have not set a time yet for it, but we will make sure that we get that out to the community. Also, we committed this evening to put out additional yard signs to promote the survey in the neighborhood, and so we will work to get that done on or before next Monday. Okay. Heather, do you have any other text messages?
None at this time.
Okay.
I do want to take an opportunity. Jessica, you and I have chatted back and forth a bit. You had stated that you were in the queue to speak. I hope that I have been able to answer your questions via the chat. I'd just like to acknowledge her.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, I am taking a moment and just remember that there's a slight delay between the live meeting and what people are seeing online. And so I want to just take a moment to do a last call where, oh, it's 8:56. And we're almost complete with our time for today's meeting, but I'm going to refresh again, see if I have any other comments or questions. And if we did not get to you during this meeting, please rest assured that we are capturing everything. That's one of the reasons why we chose to use the system that we're using, is because it records all the ways that people are providing comments to us. Okay, I don't see anything new. You all chime in if something pops in on your end. I just want to remind folks that you're able to take the survey at publicinput.com/Tillery and join us for our next meeting on Thursday, May 14th. And do we have any other final comments, questions?
I just want to thank everyone for all the fantastic questions, the input. It is going to be ongoing, and I'm excited about the possibilities that this magical site presents.
Thank you. Thank you, Mandy. Thank you for joining us this evening. Travis?
Echo Mandy's comments again. Obviously there's a lot of people that have participated in this meeting, and so we really appreciate that. Appreciate the latitude and grace that you give us in regards to figuring out the technology side of it. And I look forward to coming back May 14th and discussing our plans, formalized plans a little bit more with y'all.
All right.
Sharonda?
Yes.
There are a couple of last minute pieces that have come in.
Perfect.
First, we have Topaz has just simply said, awesome, thanks. We have had, I will leave it anonymous, if I had the money to buy them, which are the additional properties in the neighborhood, if I had the money to buy them and give them to the city, I would. And finally, to close, thank you for being on and representing the community concerns.
You are so welcome. We are all in this together, and we do appreciate you spending time with us. And again, this is a recorded session, and so if you are watching after the meeting, please feel free to email us, to go to our website and provide us with comments, and please complete the survey by May 1st. Thank you so much for joining, and have a wonderful rest of your day and week, and we will see you again on May 14th.